Aloha and welcome to Koa Studio. So in this video, I'm going to be working on a custom leo mano for a good friend of mine. It's actually a present or gift. I haven't told him about it, so hopefully he likes it. If he doesn't, that would be unfortunate. But the leo mano that I'm going to be making, it's a Hawaiian style knife. For those of you who are new to my channel or unfamiliar with what a leo mano is, there's a lot of different styles, but the meaning behind it is like a shark's lei, like the shark that you find in the ocean, and then their teeth. And so any style weapon that would have like a row of shark teeth in the piece would oftentimes be either called a leo mano, or it would have that in the name. And then the design pattern that you see here, where it's just kind of like a elongated paddle with a handle, and then the shark teeth are going to go along the outer edge of the paddle. That's the style of leo mano that is most common when referring to it as just a leo mano. Now for this piece, I'm going to have a center ridge. I already cut out the piece on my bandsaw, and I'm going to begin doing some work shaping it down with the angle grinder, as well as working with my chisel set to clean up those edges. And then I'll be sanding the entire piece down to 320 grit. Normally I would do the majority of this shaping with the angle grinder using a 36 grit or 50 grit sandpaper, but because of the shape and size of the handle, I don't really have enough space to get in there with the angle grinder, and so I ended up needing to clean that up just with a wood rasp, and then I'll be going back and forth between the wood rasp and some sanding discs. And then before I get too far though, I wanted to clean up this edge work. That way it doesn't disappear on me, because it's already kind of the general shape that I need. If I don't make those lines deeper and more contrasting, it can sometimes be easy to just sand that whole part away, and all of a sudden all of your line work is gone. And so this just kind of helps keep it from doing that and hiding or disappearing, and I can make sure and keep them nice and clean and crisp. So just a little bit of back and forth between shaping, sanding, and then working away at the edge work and line work with the chisel set. Now I am putting an edge line that goes all the way from the very tip of the piece down to where the handle is, or ridge line I mean. And the design for that is can be a challenge to put in, especially when it's a thinner piece of coal, which this is. It's just barely an inch thick. So usually I like to do that when it's maybe an inch and a quarter thick, but this one was just a thinner piece of coal, but an absolutely gorgeous piece, which is why I wanted to use it. But you can see the dust is collecting on the center there. That's that ridge line that I'm working on, and so I just have to be careful as I sand so that I don't flatten that ridge line, just because I don't have any extra material to rebuild the ridge line if I do flatten it. And so I just have to work away at it very carefully. And then again with the handle, because I can't really get at it with the angle grinder, I'm using a combination of the rasp and metal file and a few other tools, and then just sanding it down. Now I had paused working on the backside of the leo mano, this section here, just because I was busy or focusing on the paddle section. And so on this part here, it's going to come down to a diamond shape, and it's going to have a ridge line on both sides. There's a lot of material I have to remove, so I'm removing probably 80 to 90% of it with the angle grinder, And then I'll be coming back with the chisel and files and sandpaper to clean that up and make that look a lot nicer. Now the regular bits that I normally use for cutting the groove that the teeth are going to slot into, I couldn't find them anymore, at least not where I normally get them. I usually get them at like Lowe's and Home Depot. So I don't know if they don't produce them anymore or they're just out of them, or I need to try to look online. I'm not entirely sure, but the ones that I had one left and it was kind of dull, so it wasn't cutting very clean. And so I bought a couple new bits to test out with, and so I was testing on that small block just to make sure that it wouldn't kind of gouge out on me. And it was cutting a nice clean line on the block, but then for whatever reason when I would go to cut in that groove on the piece, it was gouging. And so you can see those sections there where it kind of vibrates and expands really quick and it leaves a larger opening. And it was just driving me insane because it makes for a very unclean groove. And so I just said forget it. I grabbed back my old bit and I cut the groove with it. You can see there's a ton of smoke, a ton of burning. There's just not a lot of teeth left on that bit, and so it doesn't do a really good job cutting. It more burns into the koa, which isn't a big deal because after I cut that initial groove, I was able to take one of those other bits and go back over the groove to widen it up just a little bit and clean it out. But I'm gonna have to see if I can find those bits online somewhere, or I just need a lot more practice with those newer bits, because that gouging was just, it was driving me insane. Because worst case scenario is I cut through to the outside and then I can't fix it. I can't hide that at all. I have to, practically would ruin the piece. I could make it thinner, that potentially quote unquote fix it, but I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just be able to cut a nice clean single groove down the side of the leo mano, or any piece that I'm working on actually for that matter. But the wood that I have here is absolutely gorgeous. It's really hard to see in the video, but it's really tight curl and it's a really dark grain curly koa, and so I was super excited for this piece. I did get it sanded down to 320 grit, and at this point I can go ahead and put in the tiger shark teeth. I'm using large tiger shark, so these are like 1 inch to 1 1/8 inches is about the size of the teeth. Just massive tiger shark teeth, and so I was super excited. I thought the proportions were going to look really clean, really nice. And then usually what I do for marking the holes is, and you can see on this guide here, I've got a whole bunch of holes drilled into it. The distance from the edge of the koa to where the hole goes, I don't have a set standard. I kind of just do either artistically what fits good for that piece, or mechanically if it's going to be a very significant component. I did drill the holes quite a bit larger on this piece, and I did that because I'm going to be doing a double lash or 2-ply. Usually I'd do a single ply, but the patternation, the design of this piece is very much influenced from a traditional piece that I've made in the past, and it has a double ply on it. But once I had those cut in and I finished sanding it back down again to 320 grit, I can go ahead and oil it. I use tongue oil to oil the piece. Tongue oil is just my favorite oil that I use. There's a lot of different oils. This one just highlights, I think, the natural color of the koa really well. It does darken lighter areas, which sometimes I don't like as much, but everything else is just brings out that rich, beautiful grain in the natural hardwood. And then with this specific piece of koa, man, it was absolutely gorgeous. I love this piece of koa. Just had those flamey chatoyants, the ripples that go across the entire thing. It was just looked absolutely amazing. The entire time I was sanding, I couldn't wait to oil the piece. I knew it was gonna look absolutely gorgeous. It's gonna look even better as I finish the piece, but this is one of my favorite steps, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. You can see the reflecting as I kind of move it up and down, left to right. All those different lines that go across the grain. That's that nice dark curl that coming through. It looks beautiful. And I love all the different character in this piece too. It's got a lot of different lines in it. Just a gorgeous piece. So the next step here is just going to be lashing the piece. I only recorded half of it because it's the same thing twice. And it can be a little bit boring. Once I lash it, I can go ahead and put on the wrist strap and then lash in the feathers. Here is the finished piece. Man, did this thing turn out absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It's a beautiful piece. Has a really nice balance to it. The dimensions worked out absolutely amazing. And it feels really nice in the hand too. It's not too thin. I was a little worried that with the inch, it's about 1.1 inch thick koa, that it'd be a little bit too thin in the hand, but it actually feels really nice, or at least in my hand. Now I am going to be testing with this piece. But before I do that, I wanted to take a look at it one last time in the light, natural light rather than in my workshop, just so you can kind of get a better view of that natural grain curly look to it, that chatoyance that goes through it. It looks awesome. I am going to be testing with this piece as well. I'm just going to be testing on some ballistics gel that is molded in that torso mold that I got. So if you haven't been following along with my channel, you'd know that previously I just had a square block, and I have this cool little torso, so when I remold it, I can match that. I did some slicing strikes, forehand, backhand, just to test, and man, it cut really well. Did a great job. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoy watching. If you liked it, go ahead and leave a like and a comment. I love reading the comments. Anything new that you'd like to see me make. I have some awesome new builds coming up in the future that I'm super excited for. Well, mahalo nui for everyone that follows along and that's helped support my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And if you like seeing these types of weapons, go ahead and check out some of my older videos. I have tons, and they are all awesome. At least I think they are. Maybe you won't. Mahalo nui, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.